All right, welcome everyone. We are very excited to present today's workshop, how to build real-time product recommendation engine with AWS and mParticle. We're very excited to do this in partnership with Amazon. So why don't we get started? Actually, before we get started, why don't we have a few housekeeping items to review. First, and this is one of an obvious gimme, but please just make sure that you have a solid internet connection. We'll be covering a lot of material, and we really just don't want you to miss anything. Everyone will, as you know, is muted upon entry, but you will have the possibility to unmute yourself at designated times for interactive QA. We want to make this as interactive of a session as possible. Another tool that we'll be using to do that is the Q&A chat. So if you have any questions, technical issues, I didn't get the onboarding email for mParticle or any of those type of things, please reach out. If you have any ad hoc questions throughout the workshop, please write it in there, and then when appropriate, we can bring it up and actually do a live QA at that time. I'm not sure if everyone's familiar with Zoom, but there are these things called reactions where you can just go like raise your hand or whatnot. Please try to use those so that we can see that someone wants to talk and bring them on, especially if you're like, hey, the pace of the presentation is too fast, just bring our attention to it. And as I'm sure you saw when you entered, we are recording this session, and we'll be sharing that after the workshop. All right, so we have three basic time blocks for the workshop. We'll start with introductions and a quick overview, followed by a block to talk about how to get started with AWS, actually set up, personalize, and train the ML model. We plan to then take a slight break while those models are being trained, and then we'll conclude by talking about mParticle, how to get started, and then diving into the specific personalization use cases. Today's presenters include Igor, who is a senior partner solutions architect at AWS. We're very excited. We've partnered very closely with Igor and Amazon to bring this to you today. And then on the mParticle side, we have Jeff, who is a principal solutions engineer here at mParticle. So they're going to be running through the nitty-gritty elements of the workshop. We're really excited to have both of them join us today. All right, some contextual objectives for today. We really are hoping to just make this fun, have you explore, learn how machine learning can improve personalization and customer experience, but making that easier to obtain in terms of the execution. We want to keep this interactive, so please discuss with us. As we bring up subjects like why you should consider this solution, please have an open dialogue and let's make this interactive. And the last part of it, which is the fun coding part of the workshop, is actually deploying a working solution and getting to play with it with your own hands. All right, with that, why don't we do a quick overview in terms of putting all this in context of Amazon personalized and mParticle. So to make this a little bit more interactive, I'm gonna ask some questions. So do we have anybody in the audience who wants to take on this one? Anybody know what Amazon personalized is? And any, I think if you raise your hand, I'll be able to unmute, or you can just answer in the chat. Maybe I'll give a softball and pick on Jeff for this one. So Jeff, why don't you tell us what is Amazon personalized?
No worries, Shafiq. Thanks. Yeah, so Amazon personalized is Amazon's machine learning and AI solution, right? So what it does is allows anyone who has access to the Amazon Web Services to use their own AI ML platform. This is what they actually use internally as part of their dog fooding exercise, wherein they use this as part of the Amazon Web Services e-commerce store. That's why what you see, right, when you go actually to the e-commerce store after doing some product searching or product catalog clicking, for some reason, when you go back to their website, it automatically adjusts or adopts based on your last searches, right? And then that's for them, allowing them to basically provide better and relevant product recommendation that suits your recent product searching history activities.
Bingo. So what is it at a high level to summarize? It really enables the developers to be able to build applications using the same ML technology used by Amazon.com. So that very powerful ability. We've all been there when we've gone to Amazon and we're about to check out and it's like, hey, have you considered this? And you're like, huh, I did not consider that, but I definitely want that. So it's that personalized product rec experience and the ability to re-rank product order as customers browse through actual products, or as we'll see later on, there are other use cases in content, media, for example. It's also important to be able to deliver those recs in real time, and Personalize does that for you. As long as that data is available, you can deliver those recommendations instantaneously. And a big one for the developer crowd is, and the data engineer crowd here, is you can implement a recommender in days, not months. It's a big game changer. It really accelerates that time to value and saves a lot of engineering time. And the last one I think is also pretty key, is that no prior ML experience is required. So you don't need to have a flashing data science degree and 10 years of experience to really leverage the technology. You can hit the ground running using the best in breed tools that Amazon has to offer. All right, whoops. I'm going to change my tactic a little bit here. I'll just pose the question to frame what the next slide is. So why do customers care? Why would they care? Well, there are two main industries that we've identified that have these use cases for Personalize, and they're really focused for those two industries. One is retail, right? Being able to bring in a customer and offer that unique homepage experience is huge. I think I'm preaching to the choir here. There's lots of studies that show that when you personalize the experience, you have higher retention and better customer experience and satisfaction. Specifically getting more fine-tuned in terms of product recs, be able to surface those faster, and then giving the customers ability to discover things that they want. Like the example I gave earlier is, oh, I'm going camping, I'm buying a tent, I probably want some chairs as well, foldable chairs. And then relevant product rankings, making sure that the way that we order things on the page are relevant to the customer. And that also allows us to unlock better marketing comms, right? Those customized emails and messaging. And Jeff is going to show you an example later about offers you can send in real time. It really up levels your marketing game. And then that leads to up and cross sell, right? I just bought those chairs to go with my tent. On the media side, it's really, you can increase content consumption. I think Netflix is a case study for all of us. I'm watching Drive to Survive right now, and I never watch just one episode at a time. And then creating those personalized ad placements, being able to curate content carousels, and also have better marketing comms here, highlighting new content offerings. Oh, I love Drive to Survive. Maybe I'll like the movie Rush, right? And surfacing that. And then enhanced genre-based recommendations. So, I like F1, I like racing. Maybe I like something in NASCAR. So maybe a NASCAR documentary will surface. So it's very powerful use cases that Personalize can deliver. But then the question goes, this is great. Of course, we want to do this, but why is it such a struggle for companies to implement? Well, we have this concept at mParticle called data chaos. Data chaos is something that pretty much everybody suffers for. This is a stat from Gartner, where it shows that only 14% of companies believe that they've achieved this quote unquote customer 360 view, which is basically having complete profile data of a customer to be able to leverage that and activate it. Only 14%. So brands are really suffering from this phenomenon of data chaos. Well, what's causing this? Well, one, consumers are creating more personal data than ever before, right? COVID accelerated online everything, just fill in the blank there. E-commerce, home delivery, streaming content, social media, the list just goes on and on and on. On the business side, things are iterating much faster. Have you heard of the growth marketer? Have you heard of the new growth PM? Well, they're wanting to implement new tactics and strategies and move fast. And that's necessary in today's business environment. Data requirements change as a result. As they try to implement these new tactics to capitalize on these new opportunities and keep up, if not stay ahead of the competition. And then you have this evolving technology landscape. The rise of cloud computing has completely shaken the technology landscape. As an example, at mParticle, we license nearly 100 SaaS tools, which all collect data. That data shape changes over time and products evolve over time. And then obviously business users want to swap out tools. Today we use Mixpanel, next day will be Mixpanel 2.0, right? We want to leverage the best in breed technology. And over time, as you continue to find all these pieces of treasure, what we call data, that's really where things get chaotic, right? It's a battle. You're always dealing with more data, but you're like, it's too much. But you can't stop the tidal wave from coming, and it's hard to manage. For many, they find this a constant uphill battle that they're fighting. And they fix their data, they feel good about it, but then something changes and it restarts this cycle. And companies, sometimes in the worst case, they give up and say, this is just a reality of the situation we're in. Well, we disagree. We think that you can win this battle, and that the ones that are quick to adapt and bringing order to the data chaos, these are the folks, these are the companies that are going to win. And being able to tackle data chaos is important, especially when you're trying to meet consumer expectations with tools like Amazon and Personalize. I mean, having only 14% of companies that feel like they have a handle on the customer profile, that's going to lead to good modeling and good outcomes when it comes to things like personalization. All right, so diving a little bit deeper, here are some areas that we've heard from our customers. There are challenges that mParticle can come and solve. Data quality. It's the old adage, garbage in, garbage out. A CDP really up-levels your data quality game by offering new tools in the product itself. Real time is key, right? I'm at my cart, I abandon something there, I get distracted because I have twin boys, and then I come back and I'm like, oh, what was I doing? I don't remember. Oh, I got a push notification, a message. Would you like to complete your transaction? Sure, yeah, totally forgot about that. I need that. User privacy, right? We want to respect user privacy. It is not only a requirement now with things like GDPR and CCPA, it is actually a differentiation for us, right? It's for brands. Respecting consumer privacy is a way you can differentiate yourself from the pack. I'm sure everyone in this group is familiar with the concept of siloed data, disparate data across different sources that are not normalized and standardized. Unstructured data, anyone heard of? And that's almost, it becomes difficult to use that and leverage tools like personalization when that's the situation. And then scale and availability, right? You're successful, you have your data warehouse already all shiny, and then you have to scale it. Things change. you have to be able to solve that problem and scale as you grow. So then, why do you need mParticle? It's a little bit of a loaded question, and I'm going to hand it over to Jeff to go into some of the more technical overview of why we need one would need mParticle.
Cool. Thanks, Shafiq. Yeah, so the first reason why most companies go with mParticle is we centralize and unify data collection, right? As you can see on the left-hand side of the diagram, if without mParticle, basically how you collect data will be a point-to-point abstraction scheme. When I mean point-to-point, you need to implement, let's say, one partner's SDK into your app, whether it's a mobile app or a web app. Then basically for the next vendor, you need to implement their separate set of SDKs again, and the list goes on and on and on. As you can see, what's happening is you're bloating your mobile or web application with different vendors' SDK, which could affect your app's performance, app's capability, app's latency, and sometimes if you implemented it wrongly, right, or incorrectly, this could also create application crashes, right? And that's what you're trying to avoid as well, especially in these days where everything's based on first impressions, right? Because you want to stand out where you provide the best customer experience on your first impression, right? And all the greatest challenge as well here is basically when you're implementing different SDK separately, your developers might be sending data or data points in different manners. A good example will be if you're trying just to send a simple page view. If you implement different SDKs, one page view could end up in different sets or different fashions. One could be page view, one could be page viewed with an ED, one could be view page, right? The reverse. And that's what creates that data chaos, as Shafiq creates, as mentioned earlier, right? Because the more data you collect in different entry points, the more chances you're going to actually have that problem of basically stuffing up your again, that data in different ways or different representations. And imagine, right, you're sending it to maybe an apps flyer, to maybe to a Facebook pixel, maybe to another platform. And the challenge there is that if they're collecting data as well on their end, and you want the data to be sent back to you guys for that flywheel effect, they could also be requiring you to implement different API or webhooks on your end just to receive that data. So imagine the effort that you require from your end just to build that end-to-end integration and basically pipe that data in, pipe the data out into a central source like a data warehouse. So with what we provide, which is mParticle, the mParticle solution, right? So with mParticle, we provide a single interface and a single SDK that you need to implement, such that once you embed our SDK, and sometimes some of our customers embed partner kit SDKs, what they can do is basically automatically abstract data collection in a single unified form. When I mean single unified form, your developers will only need to implement one single SDK, which is the mParticle SDK. And basically from there, they just need to send, let's say, certain data points that allows you to track the behavior or the user data points that you want to track from your customers, right? So a good example would be, rather than implementing 3 different ways to trigger a page view event, with mParticle, it's just one line of code that will allow us to basically track that page view event. Once we're able to basically capture that event, this is where mParticle's orchestration capability comes in, wherein we're able to actually send that data into multiple downstream providers, wherein you actually don't need to build that end-to-end integration, because we provide pre-built integrations or connectors for any downstream tech or MarTech partner that we want to connect with. And that simplifies the time to value, right? And the development effort, because what's happened is like you just pick whatever downstream vendor you use within our integration within the mParticle integration network. It's a plug and play approach, and in minutes you're actually able to connect our system to their system, and from there we're able to send data, and sometimes we're also able to receive data back to them, right? And that's the great thing with mParticle, wherein you don't need to basically develop those things manually on your end. And the great thing as well with our data collection capabilities is that we prevent that SDK bloating scenario, because we make sure that we provide you one SDK that allows you to achieve low latency, low memory usage from the different vendor SDKs you're trying to integrate with your app, right? And lastly, once we're able to collect all those different data points, we're able to basically centralize them and send them to your downstream data visualization providers, like could be a data warehouse, such that you can actually do the heavy crunching algorithms that you want to use later on. So this is how mParticle is able to simplify and centralize data collection in a simple fashion. As I said, the next reason why most customers go with mParticle is you might heard of customer data platform, right? But now there's a new term which we call the customer data infrastructure. An infrastructure, you can look at an infrastructure as a more leveled up capability of a customer data platform, wherein it allows us to provide you an infrastructure that allows you to basically ingest any sort of data from different sources of systems that you want us to integrate with. This could be, again, direct integration or native integrations through our SDKs. This could be us integrating directly with cloud feeds or partner feeds, which I said earlier. If we're actually using, let's say, an AppsFlyer or branch for attribution data, maybe Braze, Klaviyo, or MoEngage as your customer engagement feed data, we are able to ingest that data as well, such that we provide that flywheel effect through that pre-built integration that we maintain with them. And lastly, we also offer APIs, right? Because in the end of the day, RESTful APIs are still one way of how your developers will send data to us. Once we're able to collect that data, this is the beauty of the data infrastructure comes into play, wherein we're able to apply data quality standardization controls over whatever data point you try to send to us. As Shafiq mentioned as well earlier, we try to make sure that we avoid the garbage in, garbage out problem. Because what happens is that if your developers sometimes have complete control of what data they're sending, sometimes they might not conform to the data standards your company or organization is trying to adhere. So with mParticle, we actually provide a tool set called data plans, which allows your developers to conform to a predefined schema such that you can apply data standardization and data controls, quality controls. And the great thing with this data plans is that this can be actually be embedded down to the developers integration in the IDE of choice, such that rather than them actually looking at a printout of a paper or a spreadsheet of all the accepted data points, they can actually code as they go through that data plan. That's what we call data plan as a code, wherein they actually have to just type the syntax, and automatically it auto completes and auto provides recommendation what data points they're trying to send, such that it makes sure that they always adhere to the data quality standards that you adhere. And once we're able to ingest that, again, that data ingest data, apply data quality, the last part for data unification will be profile unification, right? As Shafiq mentioned, we want to provide that true 360-degree view of your customer's profile, where you actually are able to see who are your users, what are their user identifications, like it could be an email, it could be a customer ID, a loyalty ID. Sometimes for the e-commerce, or sorry, for the QSR use case, we can also actually use a hash credit card as a starting point, wherein basically if someone goes to the kiosk to pay for, let's say, a burger Happy Meal, they can actually use a credit card first. And what we can do is use the hash credit card as an identifier, such that if they use that same credit card in the mobile app later on, if they order via the mobile app that you provide, we can actually connect those identities together, because they still use the same credit card. And from there, the customer journey is never lost. We are able to link that customer journey from start to end. We're also able to provide what devices they might have used, whether it's, again, iOS, Android, or web, or cross-platform devices. It could also be us presenting the attributes or the metadata about the user. Any consent we also capture can also be represented. And lastly, we also provide the ability to showcase whatever audiences or segmentation they're part of, because that's the true nature of customer data infrastructure, wherein it provides that complete holistic view of the user's profile. And once basically you have unified that data into a single profile, the last part is the fun part, I would say, always for any product marketer or a product owner. It is basically them activating that data. But before we activate the data, we take data privacy as ultimate utmost requirement in our system. That's why we enforce privacy controls that allows you to define or decide what data should be streamed to downstream providers, such that we make sure that anyone who didn't provide consent, their data won't be shared because that's part of their privacy. But anyone who actually provided consent and allowed their data to be shared for marketing or analytics reasons will be shared to downstream systems that will connect. And as you can see, when we activate the data, it could be in the format of basically event forwarding, meaning that whatever data we capture from the left-hand side, we automatically stream that data or pipe that data to downstream system. It could be audience sharing, wherein, as I said earlier, you can group users or profiles into segments or audiences, wherein you're able to make sure that if they satisfy a certain set of criteria, it means that basically this set of these users. This could be as simple as creating a criteria of who are your high valued customers versus your medium valued customers and low valued customers. And what we can do is basically, once we're able to group those users in those segments or audiences, we're able to share them to downstream systems such that you can activate them instantaneously. And lastly, we also integrate with our tech partners, right? Wherein we're looking at a more of a tech-based integration, and one of the tech-based partners that we integrate, it would be a data warehouse, which I said earlier. If you wanna basically apply AI ML later on, what we can do is basically send all the data we collect to a data warehouse, and basically can apply again an Amazon personalized on top of it if you wanna apply better recommendations or AI ML calculations that you wanna do as part of your end-to-end ecosystem later on. And this is what a data infrastructure provides.
Yeah, I want to add one thing, Jeff, to that. When you set up the technical part of, with SDKs, cloud feeds, and APIs, and start streaming that data into mParticle, you're actually enabling non-technical stakeholders as well to create segments, audiences, what we call calculated attributes, and enable that persona. And then also it becomes very easy to swap tools out. There's no need to recode or remove SDKs and replace them. It becomes really easy to have that best in breed situation.
Yes, I couldn't agree more. Cool. So as you can see, as part of that explanation between me and Shafiq, these are the key benefits that most customers get when they basically integrate best-of-breed tools like AWS Personalized and mParticle. First, again, as Shafiq mentioned, we simplify data collection and reduce development time. So with those SDKs, APIs, partner feed, we automatically are able to collect any data point from any data source. And the great thing with us is basically, if we're going to send that data to downstream systems, sometimes you don't need to implement the SDKs of that vendor anymore, because we have a server-to-server side integration through the connectors that we provide. And here, you can basically swap out downstream platforms later on if you're still at that evaluation journey of which tool or MarTech tool I really want to go with, right? Because as Shafiq mentioned, the technology landscape is continuously evolving. There could be one new feature, one vendor provide, which will stand out from another vendor. Hence, that could be your reason why you're going to go with them. But in order to find that reason out, you need to evaluate them. And this is what we provide. We accelerate that the ability for you guys to evaluate any new tech later on. Just to recap, we enforce data quality standards. We want to make sure whatever data you collect, it adheres to proper and best hygiene, such that we avoid the garbage in, garbage out problem. We unify and centralize customer profiles, right? Because again, in the end of the day, we want to make sure there's only one single customer profile for every customer you have. We don't want duplicate profiles that may exist within the customer data platform. Because if you have duplicate profiles, basically you already have failed the customer data platform journey that you're taking into. We also want to make sure that we deliver contextually relevant recommendations in real time. So this is what Igor later on is going to showcase, right? Basically, we're going to tap AWS Personalized to help us drive that recommendation side of things. And basically, once that recommendation is available on their end, we surface that back to mParticle and let mParticle be able to share that information in real time to other systems that it's integrated with, such that other systems can be the benefactor or benefacto of this recommendation. We also want to make sure that we improve customer experience and lifetime value, because in the end of the day, right, experience what sets you apart with you against your competitor. So we want to make sure that through recommendation or AI and ML, you're able to create that tight experience with your customers, and making sure that that tight experience increases your customer's lifetime value, whether it could be a conversion from a product purchase, from basically an adoption, or anything that will allow you guys to basically increase adoption and reduce churn from your customers. Faster time to market, again, as one of the key things that we try to deliver, is we want to make sure that once you go with a CDP or customer data infrastructure like mParticle, it will be easier to adopt new tools later on. And lastly, allowing us to accelerate data to value, right? When I mean accelerate data to value, it means that as soon as we get that data, we're able to basically send that data to any system, and you're able to harness and actually get value immediately from that data that you're trying to collect from different sources being piped into your customer data infrastructure. So this is how it would look like if basically you integrated mParticle with basically an e-commerce store and AWS Personalized, right? So in the end of the day, what you're going to get is an exceptional customer experience, which is data-driven. Data-driven is allowing us to make sure that whatever data we collect, we use that data, harness that data, such that we can drive better and relevant personalized experiences. As you can see on the lower hand side is a high-level conceptual architecture of the mParticle and AWS AI/ML solution with integration with personalized. Just to go briefly to that conceptual architecture, left-hand side starts off with all your different sources of truth, whether, again, it could be an e-commerce store you built, could be a Shopify store that you actually leverage Shopify for. Basically, and what we're doing right now is tracking all the relevant events that are useful for AWS Personalized engine to use, right? So here, maybe we'll just limit to e-commerce events, because basically what we want to do is capture the key e-commerce events ranging from product view, from product clicks, from add to carts, remove to carts, and maybe checkout, right? And purchase. So what we're trying to do is basically abstract all those information, like from page views and everything, all the interaction points. But once we're able to capture all those data points in mParticle, we limit those data points to our data filter engine capability. And what we'll do is basically only nitpick those e-commerce events which are relevant for Amazon Personalized, such that they can use that information to drive better recommendation or personalization later on. Once we're able to capture, filter those events, we forward those events to Amazon's Kinesis, which is Amazon's streaming capability or platform. Once Kinesis is able to receive those events, Kinesis is actually integrated to an Amazon Lambda service, where in that Lambda service does all the additional heavy lifting it requires to do, such that Personalized can receive that data in real time. So once the Lambda service is able to format that data and push that e-commerce event data directly to Amazon Personalized, in the latter part of the series or the workshop, which will actually go through that actual code, you'll see that in that part, in that code, we're able to basically call AWS Personalized API endpoint. Once we're able to get that API, call that API endpoint, Personalized will actually return some recommendations back to the Lambda function that we have deployed. And basically, in order for that information to be sent back to mParticle, we actually will send that data using mParticle's API, such that that data can be returned back to mParticle, which I said earlier, the flywheel effect. And using that data stored within the profile managed in mParticle, we're able to share that information either by showing it through our profile API, or it could be as simple as forwarding that real-time data that we just received to downstream systems, such that we can apply personalization, whether it's from like a customer engagement push action, an email action, or it could be as simple as basically customizing how your website should look like based on that personalized data. So without mParticle, again, the world without mParticle, as you can see, everything's like stitched point to point. Basically, what we normally see is that you will have different SDKs or APIs that you'll implement from different sources, and basically that will allow you to send data to personalize. Then for non-real-time data, most likely what you're gonna do is collect all those different data points and send it maybe to an AWS S3 bucket and apply some data transformation rules. And once that's done, that's the only time you're able to send that data to AWS personalized. As you can see, it's a fragmented approach. It's not able to drive real-time recommendation, especially if you're trying to stitch together offline and online data. And there's a lot of work, development effort that needs to be done, right? In order just to bring that data in, then imagine also bringing that data out of personalized. But with mParticle, if we actually adopt mParticle, the next slide, please. Okay, thank you. With the mParticle solution, we're able to basically help you simplify that data collection requirement, right? As I said earlier, we provide different ways or channels that allows us to collect data in real time. And the great thing also is that we're able to support offline data because we're able to automatically ingest offline data either directly via APIs, or if you decide to upload a simple CSV file or drop that offline data to a SFTP server, we are able to actually pick up that data and pipe that data in directly to mParticle. The only thing that we won't be ingesting will be item catalog data, right? Because item catalog data is something that it's not directly related to CDP, but somewhat like in tangent related, because in the end of the day, customer will have some items or products, right? So, but we will treat that in a separate system, which could be part of your your end-to-end ecosystem, where you will have a item catalog inventory system that basically captures all those different products that you maintain, such that you can also still use that later on with Amazon Personalized to drive product recommendation if you want to actually retrieve product details or product metadata. But as I said earlier, once we're able to collect the different data points, whether it's online, offline, we're able to stream that in real time to Amazon Personalized. And basically, once that's done, we're able to abstract information in real time as well from AWS Personalized and basically send that data back to different downstream channels or partners you want us to activate that data with. So what can you do out of Amazon Personalized and mParticle integration, right? So as I said earlier, these are some of the key benefits we see with customers using this capability or this integrated solution. One is they're able to leverage digital data in store, right? A great example use case here will be, again, if you recently went to maybe to a Burger King or to a McDonald's chain, you might have interacted directly with a POS, point of sale system, or a kiosk, right? A digital kiosk where you just have to like point and click items, right? So what they can do sometimes is that if they know that you're the user, that you're basically who came from the mobile app, either you scan your your rewards, or basically you link your mobile phone directly to the kiosk. What the kiosk can do is basically understand who you are and automatically tap into our API. And using that API, they can actually receive relevant information about you, wherein they can actually customize the kiosk homepage, wherein they could actually say that, hey, Jeff, apparently we saw you bought, let's say, a Whopper or a Big Mac in your last purchase. Do you want to buy that again? Or maybe they could recommend me items that are relevant to what other people have bought for those two products that they have bought as well. So basically, that's one way on how you can basically stitch digital data in store to better in-store experience. And this could also be extended in the actual cashier use case if you're talking directly to a cashier, because the cashier person could also be using a kiosk in front of him or her, which can actually pull your data as well in real time. another benefit would be in-person campaigns, right? So this is just making sure that whatever email or push notification you receive it's actually customized to relevant information that you have recently done with the e-commerce store or with the media provider that you're with, right? This is like what Netflix does as well recently, wherein or Spotify might, if a user of Spotify, you might see that if you played certain songs over time, basically Spotify is able to recommend the nearest songs that you might like based on the genre or whatever other people may have heard based on the same playlist that you might be hearing with, right? So this is allowing you to basically understand and provide personalized campaigns to your customers. And lastly, we want to make sure that making all of those in-personalization stuff easier as possible, right? So what we do is basically we provide a simple API that wherein you can actually just simply call that API, and from there you're able to abstract all the information we capture. And some of the information here will be the recommendation information that will be coming from AWS personalized. So that's all the three components or the three benefits most customers can get through this solution.
Thanks, Jeff. We're about to wrap up this section to keep on time, but I just wanted to highlight which personas benefit. I'm going to venture a guess that everyone here has an idea, but we've identified three. One is the marketing and product personas. As we've talked ad nauseum, it unlocks that personalized customer experience, benefit the businesses, increase revenue and retention. And then it lowers the AI ML barrier to entry. So it's no longer this spooky buzzword that everyone wants to do, but no one seems to be able to do. And then it benefits the developers, right? They don't need that AI ML knowledge, and it reduces the development time to get up and running. And on the data scientist engineer side, there's a huge benefit because it allows them to leverage the best in breed ML tech without the heavy lift of having to build the models themselves, as Igor will go into more detail, but yet deliver those desired outcomes that the business wants. All right, with that, drum roll for our chief guest. I'll pass the baton and mic over to Igor. Very excited to have you here. It's time to get started.
All right, thanks guys. Just wanted to take care of a little bit of housekeeping here. To run this workshop, this is actually going to be interactive. So you're going to be able to execute code inside of an AWS console. This will not actually be inside of the AWS console that you own or your company might own. We're actually going to give you a link to a tool called Event Engine, which if you've ever done an AWS event or workshop before, basically what it lets us do is create an AWS account for you for the workshop. The accounts you're going to get access to today will be active for 48 hours. So you'll actually be able to play around with the data and the workshop content in that account at no charge to you. After that 48 hours, those accounts will be deleted. So don't do anything permanent in there. Also, please don't do stuff like Bitcoin mining. That's a joke, you can't. But what we'll do is right now I'm going to paste a link to an Event Engine login here into our chat window. And once you hit that link, you're going to enter the hash code that's just been pasted into the chat window. And what that will do is it will give you access to the Event Engine console. It helps that if you have a browser, so you're going to do this through a browser. If your browser is already logged into an AWS console, you should log out of your AWS console so that the login that this provides will work. And I'm going to give everybody a moment to digest that. And if there are any questions, you can paste them into the chat. Or you can take yourself off of mute here. I'm going to actually, Shafiq, is it possible for me to share my screen?
Yeah, I think so.
I think it might help if I just show what the screen
Yeah.
looks like for Event Engine. Just briefly, and then we can switch back. Okay, so hopefully everyone can see my screen. So when you hit Dashboard, Event Engine, Run, you'll see a login screen like this. This is where you put the event hash, and then when you log in, you will get asked to provide either an email or an Amazon.com login. We're not tracking your emails here. This is just to send you a one-time password so you can log back into this console. And once you're actually logged in, you'll see something that looks like this. So if you hit this AWS Console button, you can click the Open AWS Console link. And what that will do is actually log you into the console for this workshop. And once everybody's got that part done, and I see people are starting to log in here on my dashboard, what we can do then is get started with all the exercises, and I'll do a little bit of a walkthrough for each exercise here so that we can get through all of the labs. There are a few parts of this that take a little bit of time because what we do is we start by explaining how Personalize actually works, and you're actually going to take data in an environment called the Retail Demo Store, which is a simulated e-commerce website. You're going to use that data to actually train Personalize once it's configured. And then later on, we'll set up mParticle to actually feed that data and then use that data in active campaigns once Personalize is actually running.
And while everyone's doing this, please reach out in the chat if you did not receive an invitation to set up an mParticle account. That will be needed for the workshop as well.
Okay, so since it looks like most of you have logins to the console, I'm just going to get a little bit of housekeeping out of the way. This is actually a relatively self-guided workshop. We're here to provide, to answer questions and sort of provide guidance around kind of how Personalize is actually set up. But the workshop itself runs using Jupyter notebooks. So I'm sure some of you have either heard of this or are probably very familiar with Jupyter, depending on your level of experience with machine learning tools, but it's very popular, obviously. If you want to jump to the notebooks, what you're going to do is either type in SageMaker up here in the search screen and click the SageMaker button, or like I did, you may have, if you're using SageMaker, you'll have a link showing that that was recently used here. And then you're going to go to Notebook and then Notebook Instances. And in your account, I've actually pre-deployed all the resources that you need for this workshop using CloudFormation. So there should be a Jupyter console option here that says Open Jupyter. If you like using Jupyter Lab, feel free. I'm going to click the Jupyter link here. And what that is going to do is kick us into a Jupyter instance. Gets us into the Retail Demo Store. And then what you're going to do is click the link here that says Workshop. And you may actually have to click this link twice, like me. And so what we're going to do in this workshop is focus on personalization. So before we can run the whole workshop, we actually have to do a little bit of setup. So if you click on Start Here and the Search Jupyter Notebook. And I am not sure why mine are loading so slowly this morning. Here we go. So what this does, this first Jupyter Notebook is going to set up some dependencies in the Retail Demo Store environment. What you have here is actually a complete set of services that run an actual e-commerce store. One of those services is actually Elasticsearch, and this notebook will actually set up Elasticsearch so that we can show how search results can actually be personalized using Amazon Personalize. So in order to do that, you have to actually set it up first for this particular environment. What you can do is, if you just want to run the entire environment, and I strongly recommend doing this for this notebook, is just click this button and restart and run all cells, and then this should run in a few minutes. I don't know why this says it's 20 minutes, but this is just going to set up Elasticsearch for the retail demo store. And then once this is finished, we'll be able to jump into the actual personalization workshop, which, so if I click back here, I'm going to set the screen to this and let everybody run their search setup. And then when everyone's done, let me know. And Shafiq and Jeff, I think Alicia may not have gotten her mParticle link.
All right, let me look into that. Give me 1 second. Just walk through the steps again to get from the AWS console to the Jupyter notebook.
Yeah, absolutely, no problem. I hope you're just looking at a presentation screen right now, not my whole screen, right?
Yeah, we're looking at the presentation.
Okay, so when you log into your console, you'll be put into an AWS console that looks roughly like this. If you first have to go to SageMaker, so you can type in SageMaker up here, click on SageMaker. That will take you to this screen. Then if you click on Notebook and Notebook Instances, this will take you, your hash will look a little bit different from mine here because you have your own deployment of a SageMaker notebook instance. And then if you click the Open Jupyter link right here, this will actually just open another tab. And I will move slower. Thank you for the reminder. So when you get Jupyter open, you'll see a screen that looks like this. Or it will just have retail demo store. If you only see this link, you can click on it and it will take you to this list of files. And then you want to click on workshop. And what that will do is get you to this list here.
Hey, Igor, is there any indication once the notebook runs that it's completed?
Yeah, so great question. What you'll see as the notebook cells run, you'll see a little star in the little brackets right here. So you'll see this one has actually run because it has a number in it. And some of these will have results. So once Elasticsearch is actually set up in this cell, you'll see the actual results for searches that are returned from Elasticsearch. And then at the very end, you'll get a number, should be 14 in that cell because there are 14 cells in here. That means that the whole Jupyter notebook has executed. You can run the whole notebook by clicking this button, or you can actually walk through. So these tutorials are actually designed for you to be able to walk through step by step and actually understand what each setup step is doing. And when we get to the next step in the personalization workshop, what you'll be able to do is, what this will explain is actually all of the different pieces of infrastructure that need to be configured for Personalize to actually be able to run. Because we're showcasing almost all of the use cases for Personalize, that's the bulk of the time that we're going to spend here. So we didn't really focus on search here. This is just setting up some infrastructure so that we actually have a search engine running in the actual retail demo store that you'll see in a moment here.
This is the time when we ask for music. requests if anybody wants to listen.
So yeah, there's going to be a bit of dead air as everyone runs through the different portions of the workshop. You know, if anyone has questions or gets stuck, just feel free to either chat with us via the Zoom chat, or you can unmute.
All right, we have a question. Caitlin, floor is yours.
Awesome. Quick question. We're just supposed to run that initial notebook, correct? We're not supposed to start working through the different lab notebooks, or are we?
You can. So if you finish the search, I was just waiting to get sort of a rough idea from everybody on when you were done, and then I can demo the next notebook. You certainly don't need me to run through all of this. It's fairly self-explanatory once you get Jupyter running, because it actually gives you step-by-step instructions that are written into the actual notebook itself. So we're really here just to guide you and help answer questions or get you unstuck if things get stuck.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Igor, we have a question from Federico.
I'm actually typing a response right now.
Nice.
But maybe we can just answer the question, because I think this is actually a good segue to get into the personalization lab that you can see on your screen here, and sort of data preparation for a machine learning model. So this is probably a little bit more of a long-winded answer than you would want, Federico, but hopefully this gives you a really good answer. So the retail demo store is actually built around this idea of, it also actually, it almost looks like a mini Amazon at this point. It's a store that sells hundreds of products, has many different categories. So we can showcase all the different use cases that you could probably want to do with Amazon Personalize. And we start with the assumption that we have some historical data. So we've actually generated a data set for you when the workshop was initialized in your AWS account. And what we're going to do with that data set initially is kind of walk through the data, create some of the user interactions that you might need in order to train the model. The quality of the recommendations that you get from personalization tools really is dependent on the data that you collect. And that's a huge reason why mParticle is our partner here, because that gets into how you can actually collect the data. At start, all personalization tools have sort of what we call the cold start problem, which is basically that in order to offer some recommendations using a machine learning model, that model needs to be trained on some historical data. If you don't have a lot of data, you can still use Personalize. It will learn as you send it more events, but you do need to send some data into Personalize in order for it to be good. If you have historical data, like you will in this workshop, you'll actually be able to address the cold start problem really easily, because you can take that data, format it into a format that Personalize understands, and then just feed the model and train it off of that. And that should give you accurate personalization pretty much right off the bat. Oh yeah, and what Shafiq is saying in the chat just now. So for, you're going to run, we're actually going to run labs 1 through 4 initially. Those will probably take you the better part of 2 hours, because in those labs, you will also, at one point, you're going to get to a point where personalized models are actually going to be trained. And so what that's going to do, after you've uploaded the data to Personalize, a personalized instance, a set of machine learning instances are going to be spun up in EC2 for you, and those will actually sit there and train a model. That can take, between 30 minutes to an hour, because we're about 12 people here that just spun up a bunch of personalized instances. Sometimes that can take a little bit of time. There's a slight amount of variability there, but once that's done, then what we're going to do is actually plug Personalize into the retail demo store. You can actually log into your retail demo store web UI, play with the personalization suggestions that you're seeing. And it actually offers a few different user use cases. So you can log in as different users that have different product preferences pre-populated in the data. And then what you're going to do is go back and actually configure mParticle so that you can feed real-time data into the personalized model and update it as that data actually flows through mParticle.
Hey, Igor, just wanted to level set with everyone, and please chime in. Folks can keep going on with the labs, right? We don't need them to wait. I guess that was
yeah, and I was working on the assumption that everyone had sort of gotten through the search piece and then gone on ahead since there didn't seem to be a lot of questions. So these workshops, you know, I strongly recommend reading through at least this first one and the second one that explain sort of what it is that you're actually, the things that you need to actually deploy personalize. So you're going to need some data, which you're going to generate in this lab. So that's the introduction data preparation. And actually, as you walk through this lab, and I'll run mine here, what this will do is just roughly, you're going to do some setup of environments here for Python, because we're running all of this in Python. And then there will be some clients. We use SSM in this workshop just to keep configuration variables around. Kind of not really something that you need to worry about too much if you're going to deploy personalize in real life, but certainly very useful. And then there is actually an S3 bucket that we use in this workshop to store the generated data. That's called the stack bucket here. And then what we're going to do is take, so personalize can ingest 3 types of data. You can take actually data about your users. You can take catalog data, what we call product data. And you can also take user and product interaction data or user item data that actually represents users browsing different products and feed that into a training model. Personalize supports all of those use cases, all of those data sets. And so what we're actually going to do is download those, and then each of these sections actually gives you a little preview of what this data actually looks like, just so you get a feel for what you're actually going to be feeding into personalize. And then what that will do is prepare all the different data sets. And this is really just sort of informational for you, just to understand what you might need, you know, to apply to your own use cases if you're using personalize. And then towards the end, what you'll actually generate a set of user item interactions. And that's personalized terminology, but really what that means is if a user clicks on a product to view it or adds a product to a cart, maybe removes a product from a cart, those are all indications of intent and things that a machine learning model will need to know about your user in order to recommend them certain products. And personalized uses that information. That's actually how you can do real-time interactions. And what you'll see here is right now this generator is actually running, so it's creating these interactions. We did this so that we can create interactions that sort of mimic real life use cases and are realistic enough and also don't take a long time to generate, so that you can actually have a sort of a realistic feel for how personalized actually works once you deploy it. And then once this is done, you're going to go through and import the data in the second lab. And then the third lab, what you will actually do is, once the data is imported, you're actually going to train what we call a solution and create what we call recommenders. So a solution is actually a machine learning model. The recommenders are actually specific kinds of models that will, you know, either recommend specific products or will allow you to do things like most popular products. And those labs will actually get into that once you get there. Can we get a feel from everyone of roughly where you are in terms of right now?
Also, if everyone's okay, I can unmute everyone. You'll be visible. But then
and
we
yeah,
can
if you would prefer to ask questions via the mic, that would be great as well. Wonderful. Sorry, Caitlin. Sometimes standing up Elasticsearch takes a long time in these labs for some bizarre reason.
Hey, Igor, now that we are kind of in the main stopping point in terms of time, we're thinking of doing a small presentation on all the AWS features that mParticle integrates with. So maybe we can have Jeff, if you can come in and share your screen. And folks still,
Yes.
Please share any questions in the chat or pause us if you have any technical questions. Thanks.
I'll just share my screen, Igor, for a while, then I'll pass it back to you. Okay? Let me just, how do I, give me a second. I think Igor might be on his water break. Let's give him for a while. Let's wait for him. I need him to stop sharing so that I can share my screen. Cool. Thanks, Shafi. Thanks for using your powers. Yeah, while everyone's like still running lab 3, I hope you're sipping some coffee or tea like me. But again, just a filler slide. I just want to talk about like our integration with Amazon Web Services, right? So again, most of you right now are playing with our integration with AWS Personalized later on. But aside from AWS Personalized, Lambda, we actually have a lot of different integrations with AWS because we're actually a key partner with them. So let me walk you through what are the different integrations that we support for AWS. So yeah, so as you can see, right, in terms of again, everyone, as part of our spill earlier, we wanted to make sure that any data that we collect, again, we're able to stream it to any platform or any tech stack that you use inside the AWS ecosystem, right? And what we try to do, again, you might keep hearing it a lot of times from us. Basically, we collect, standardize, transform first-party engagement data from every customer touch point. And what we want to do is basically integrate that with any AWS components, right? And I'm not sure if you have seen our integrations catalog, but we actually support a lot of different AWS components as part of our integration, right? Maybe I'll walk you through some of the key components and the use cases we see with our customers. So first capability we support, again, is an Amazon S3 integration. So this is just us basically forwarding all events that we capture to AWS S3 or an S3 bucket. So why would customers do that, right? So the reasons why customers will do that is basically sometimes they want to leverage or apply additional extra transformation, or basically they want to load that same data that we're streaming to the other systems that we don't have a pre-built integration with, right? So this is where an S3 bucket could come along the way. And the great thing with S3 buckets is that you can use that as a dump for all data points that we capture. Another reason why customers would integrate their S3 bucket with us is, as you might heard earlier, we support data plans, right? Which allows us to apply data quality standards and checking in real time. What we do basically in certain extent is basically once we are able to see if a data point is invalid or incorrect, what we can do is basically forward that invalid data point to an S3 bucket, such that you can actually use the S3 bucket as a storage point of those faulty data points and let you guys to basically review those faulty data points, fix it later on, and basically be able to replay that data back to mParticle such that you avoid data loss. The great thing with our data plan integration or data plan capability is that once we integrate with an S3 bucket, as part of the output or the raw data output we're forwarding, we're actually able to provide you insights what was the violation issue. And that allows you to easily to pinpoint what part of the data point or the data content was invalid, right? So that you can correct that later on. The great thing also with our integration with most of the integrations here with AWS, you have the capability to actually filter or toggle what type of information you want us to forward. Some customers may only want to forward event batches with key events. Good example would be you only want to forward commerce events, right? So that's one option as part of the configuration we have with Amazon components is that you can toggle which event types you want us to only forward to them. Another option could be you can decide only forward known events transpired from known users versus dropping and not forwarding any anonymous events, right? But if you want to learn more, there's our integration page discuss all the different options or flavors you can do. The next category that we support is Amazon Kinesis, right? So as you can see, this is Amazon's real-time streaming capability or platform. So this allows you to forward any data that we capture directly to Kinesis such that you can stream it later on to other systems. This is what we're going to cover later on as part of this workshop, wherein we're using Amazon Kinesis as the bridge between us and Amazon Personalize. If you want us to send data directly to a data warehouse, basically Amazon Redshift is Amazon's solution for data warehousing capabilities. So in this part, we're basically streaming raw data that we capture directly in Redshift such that you can apply visualization capabilities later on, whether it's using Amazon QuickSight, a Tableau, a Looker, name it, or it could be using mParticle's own journey analytics platform, which we recently acquired called Indicative, right? So basically Redshift is your data warehouse target. SQS is basically a queuing service. So there's another component we can stream directly, wherein this is just us or mParticle sending real-time events to an SQS simple queue service, and you can use the simple queue service to orchestrate events in a queue-like manner. Amazon Kinesis Firehose, the rating with this integration is this is actually our underlying integration with our partner integrations that we built with our partners. So Kinesis Firehose is a more scalable Amazon streaming solution, which allows us to basically make sure that we're able to provide a scalable and high available solution when we're integrating data points from what we collect directly to our partners. The great thing with Firehose, with our Firehose integration, is that outside from just us sending events, information or data to Amazon Kinesis Firehose, you can actually send audience data as well. The reason why you may want to integrate Amazon Kinesis Firehose directly with us is for audience is basically if there's a system that we don't support, again, and you want to do audience syncing, what we can do is basically use Kinesis Firehose as the bridge, and it will allow you to basically send audience information, whether it's an ad or a drop, and also what identifiers you want us to forward directly to the Firehose component such that you can orchestrate that downstream partners that will receive our data in an audience manner. Then Amazon SNS is basically a simple notification service. So again, we stream events for it, and there's also Amazon Mobile Analytics. As you can see, right, what we try to envision or what we try to deliver is we stream standardized, schematize and customer data directly to your AWS component. So outside from the basic AWS stack, we also integrate directly to the Amazon advertising ecosystem. So you might be wondering what's the difference between Amazon advertising and the existing AWS components I mentioned. So Amazon advertising is directly targeting ads in Amazon's e-commerce store. So we actually are able to integrate with Amazon's e-commerce store through this pre-built connector. The great thing with this connector is that it's a simple plug and play approach where you just need to log in with an Amazon account, and from there you're able to connect mParticle directly to the Amazon store. And what it does is we support audience syncing capabilities. As you can see on the right-hand side, these are the different benefits if you integrate mParticle directly with Amazon advertising. One could be sponsored products. Basically, once you're able to group people within mParticle that they fit this product, you can basically group add them to that audience and sync that audience to Amazon advertising, such that they will be able to see that product that they're relevant or that they're more enticed to. It could be sponsored brands, sponsored displays, and basically the store. And again, if you want to try it out, again, it's easy to try it out as well. Again, you just have to plug and play your Amazon advertising account with mParticle. And this will allow you to extend your brand reach in Amazon's advertising network. So again, it's a quick spill. I don't want to drown everyone because we're doing the workshop. But if you want additional information, these are the links that we provide. Basically, this one is the one pager that explains our integration with Amazon. This is basically the slide, the Google slide. The integrations docs, if you want to learn how we integrate with AWS and other partners outside from Amazon. And lastly, again, if you want to see Amazon's accreditation of mParticle, there's this link actually, which is written in their blogs, basically why retailers need to a CDP. And under that blog, you will see mParticle listed down there. Any questions? Cool. I think that's it. So if you have any questions, we're still here. But again, that's just a filler of how we integrate with the different AWS components that Amazon provides. Thank you.
Hey Jeff.
Yes.
So how do aliens harvest their crops?
I think through alien tractors. I think that's a joke I got from this template. Do you know the answer, Shafiq?
I think it's, if I had to guess, because I'm big into Star Trek, a little nerdy, I would say tractor beam. I am a dad, so maybe that's why.
Makes sense. Yeah, it sounds good. Anyway, that's all. That's all from my end. You're just on mute, Igor, if you're trying to speak.
I had a little cough. Didn't want to cough into the microphone. Yeah, I just wanted to check in with everyone. I still have, my lab is still training a recommender. Once you're finishing lab 3, lab 4 will walk you through the recommendations that you've essentially just created by training various different recommenders. Once everyone is there, Jeff's actually going to take over and he's going to walk you through integrating mParticle into the retail demo store. But I just wanted to make sure that we have enough time to answer everybody's questions, or if anyone has had any issues, now's the time to let us know. And obviously you'll also have access to this environment, to your mParticle environment and this AWS environment after the workshop as well, if you want to play around with this.
Lab 4 now, or almost finishing up lab 4. If not, yeah, finishing lab 3. Yeah, the personalizers always takes a while every now and then.
Yeah, so the machine learning training and the provisioning of the campaigns. So what happens is you train the machine learning model, and then the campaign itself is actually represents the actual inference resources that get provisioned for your recommenders. That actually consumes EC2 resources, so sometimes that can take a minute.
Okay, cool. Maybe while, given that everyone's still waiting, maybe I'm lucky to be able to finish lab 3 in a timely fashion. Maybe I'll just have everyone see what could be the finished product, right? Once you're done with lab 3. So first and foremost, let me just share my screen. Yeah, so once you're done with lab 3, and basically you're done with lab 4, wherein you have created the trackers, the campaigns and everything, the finished product would be something like this, wherein basically you first things first, you need to go to search for CloudFormation. Yep. The reason why we're going with CloudFormation is because you want to see the actual URL of the retail demo store, right? So in order to get that, go to CloudFormation. Make sure that you have this view nested toggle just toggled into like off, such that you'll just have a simple output, then you can see there should be a stack name here, right? So if you click this stack name, you will see additional information about the stack. Then basically, if you click outputs, you can see that there should be a web URL listed here. If you click this URL, this will take you to the actual retail demo store. I'm not sure if you had a chance to basically, if you walk through the documentation guide earlier in the Jupyter notebooks, basically one part there was saying that access the URL first. Then basically, once you access that URL, basically it will be like a very basic retail demo store where you don't even have any recommendations, much items to show, right? Because basically when the first time we gave you this retail demo store, it didn't have all the fancy stuff in it, Amazon personalized trackers, hence the reason why you might be seeing just basic content. But after doing lab 2, lab 1 to lab 4, what it does is basically enriching this experience where now you can see a lot of information being shown in the retail demo store. I'm trying to get my old instance. Give me a second. So I actually deployed an existing instance as well in my own AWS tenant. So let me just try to get, if I can get that URL. If I'm able to get that URL, this is how it should look like before personalized was before you run the lab 1 to 4. I think I saw it. So basically, this is how it should look like. Yeah. So this is how it should look like. Give me a second. If you didn't do any lab, all the exercises that Igor mentioned, right? So as you can see, it's very basic. Nothing showing up, right? But again, after running lab 1 to lab 4, this is the finished product, right? Basically, now you have an actual retail demo store doing tracking different stuff, creating recommendations later on. Any questions so far? Cool. So maybe I know we only have like an hour and 15 minutes left, but basically maybe in ahead of time, I'll walk you through how you integrate mParticle with AWS personalized, right? So again, you can do this later on in your own time once all the labs are finished, such that you can try it, but I'll just walk you through in advance how you would set it up. So if you go directly to lab 6, this is basically now talking about how we integrate mParticle with personalized. Just an overview, we will be ingesting mParticle's web SDK into the retail demo store. And basically this will allow us to track information directly from all the events that are being generated from the retail demo store to mParticle. Once you, first things first, to access your mParticle instance, you should just type in the URL app.mparticle.com. Yep, this one. Yep. Then basically, if you're not yet logged in, you get presented with a login screen. You type in your username and the password that you set. The username most likely will be your email. The password is what you set earlier when you activated the account. Then once you're able to log in, you'll see something like this, like AWS Workshop, then Workshop account X. Because basically each one of you have different accounts, right? So one person could have account 2, account 3. Currently, I am using account 1. You'll have a workspace also called My Workspace. So what you need basically from mParticle's end is to set up the web keys, right? So to set up the web keys, what you need to do is click Setup. Then under Inputs, you can see there's Web. Click the Web. Then basically, if you haven't issued any keys yet, you should see something like this, Issues Keys. But if you already have keys issued, then basically the expectation is that you'll have a key and a secret, right? So once you get the key and secret, basically this is the part wherein rather than doing cell run all, like this is the part wherein we might just need you to run the blocks, the Python scripts one at a time, right? So first one is basically capture the key and secret. So let's copy the key. Let's put that key here. Copy the secret. So once you've done copying the key and secret, what you can do is just click run, right? What it does is basically just setting the key and secret as part of the config parameters. What it's trying to do as well is basically once you, after that one is putting the key and secret to the SSM parameters being used by Amazon, right? So if you click run, you should be able to see that once, if it's successful, you should just see a print output saying that it's now, the key has been now loaded in the mParticle API key SSM. The secret was loaded in the mParticle secret key SSM. This is your account ID and basically your region, US East 1. Once you've done that, what you'll go back to the retail demo store. I would suggest that after applying the keys and secret, maybe clear site data, basically just to clear any existing sessions or cookies, and click run. Yep. The expectation here is that once you're able to add the key and secret, keep logging for now. This should start. You should be sending events to mParticle. Let's just double check if I missed any steps. So as you can see. Yeah, I forgot. So after doing that, we need to deploy the changes. I think that's the reason why I forgot that step. So to deploy the changes, go to code pipeline, basically click pipeline. So how do you go to code pipeline? It's actually straightforward. Search for code pipeline. Then you'll see code pipeline. Then once you see that, go to pipelines, right? Once you go to pipelines, look for the web UI pipeline. So basically you should see something like, you could just do a quick search, web UI pipeline, like that one. Click that link. And basically what you need to do is click release change. Once you click release change, this will apply any changes we've done earlier, such that the web store will apply those changes will be applied to the web store. This shouldn't be that long as compared to the training. As you can see, it's just basically building, applying the change, then basically building it and pushing those changes. Yep. Once this is done, the expectation is that if we refresh if we refresh the store, we should see additional logs showing in the web console. Yep, I think this is just loading.
So what this is doing is actually rebuilding the code for the web user interface for the retail demo store. And sometimes it takes a moment because it'll pull the source again and then it'll rebuild it. So that's that second step right there, which is happening right now. So usually takes like a minute or two, and then you can go refresh your retail demo store.
Yep, maybe I'll just look at here. As you can see, this will just change to succeeded once it's done. Cool. While we're waiting for that one, maybe I'll just walk you through what will happen, right? So what will happen is that basically once we applied that change, it will now load or initialize the mParticle SDK directly to the retail demo store. And what it will do is start streaming events to mParticle. So maybe we'll just close this one. Inside mParticle, just to prepare yourself to automatic view any real live stream data, what you can do is go to Data Master, click live stream, and basically this should start showing events, right? So right now, again, this is what's events most likely that got captured on my on another website I've integrated with mParticle. But let's just go back to code pipeline. Hopefully this should be finished. Oh, cool, succeeded. So let's now clear again everything just to make sure we don't persist any cache, and basically refresh. Yep, automatically, as you can see, by just refreshing the page, you'll see additional logs showing up, right? So you can see that starting to initialize, starting to sending event to mParticle HTTP service, and basically there's like event logs. The reason why this is the retail demo store is doing this logging in the console is because we made sure that the setting of the SDK is set to verbose such that you'll be able to see in real time what mParticle is doing. So if I maybe just click skip login for now, skip, automatically you can see, right? If I refresh this page, I should be able to get some session starts. Then if you want to verify if mParticle is actually loaded properly, what you can do is type this command in the web console. So window mParticle identity get current user get MPID. So as you can see, if this returns integer value, it means that the retail demo store has successfully, the retail demo store has been configured successfully with the mParticle SDK. If I decide to, let's say, click one product like a strainer, that should basically trigger an upload of an event, like an e-commerce event. So if I actually go back here, you can see it actually generated an event, which is a shopping item view detail e-commerce action type. And basically the strainer, which I click as a product, is now showing as the product that I click, as a product that's being streamed in mParticle, right? So this is now you being able to view in real time all the events that are being captured or being generated by your retail demo store. So this is the first part, as I mentioned earlier, that what we do is basically we simplify data collection by giving you SDKs that allows you to automatically ingest any event data and again, event property data that you want to collect from your from different channels you have. Any questions? I'll pause now.
Was everyone able to get to a point where they can issue the keys and deploy them?
Yes.
Are we still waiting for labs to finish? Just a quick gauge.
Or anyone lost in the mParticle UI? Maybe we'll start there again. Okay, cool. Maybe I'll pause again. I'll pause again later for questions. But yep, can you share a couple of other examples of data that mParticle might tap and pass into personalized? Yeah. So again, as I said earlier, as part of our integration with mParticle, with AWS Personalized, we're trying to be precise on what data we want to pass to personalized, right? So if you actually check the personalized instance that you deployed, maybe I'll just show it to you as well. Here. Nice. Yep. So the answer there is yes, you can definitely pass any type of data you want. It could be a media play event. It could be yep, give me a second. Let's see if I'm able to access this. If not, okay, maybe I don't have access. Okay, never mind. Could be a setting that it's for some reason in the workshop.
Is this in your event engine console?
Yes, correct. Is there a reason why I won't be able to access it? Could be a permission thing. Yeah.
Let me check on mine.
Anyway, but I'll just use a different yeah, so right now, right, like this is an old version of the personalized deployment or the retail demo store deployment, right? So as you can see, right, in personalized, there are 3 data sets. I think with the latest version, there's more data sets available. But in my old deployment, I have interactions, users, and items, right? So normally, again, what we're doing is basically sending the e-commerce events as interactions. And again, if you want to use other events to build other personalization recommendation, right, outside from just e-commerce events, then as you said, chat, right? We can actually still support that use case. It's just a matter of whether which data set do we send that data, that data we capture from our end to AWS. But again, you're not limited just to only using e-commerce action events right now. But for this workshop, we're just focusing on e-commerce events such that you'll be able to use that e-commerce event to drive better personalized recommendations if the user is basically navigating through a product and we're trying to recommend a product that's might be relatable to that person's recent product history. Does that answer your question? Okay, cool. No worries. Cool. So right now, again, you're able now to basically view data, stream data in mParticle, view that data in real time in Particle. Let's now try to forward that data to the personalized destination, right? So right now, let's go back to your AWS instance. First things first, let's check what are the different components we require to make this integration happen, right? First, as part of this workshop or this App Engine workshop, it already has deployed two key components to make this integration happen. First is the AWS Kinesis component. As you can see, there's a data stream available. So this will be the data stream that we will use to integrate Kinesis and Amazon Personalized and mParticle through this Kinesis stream. Another component is this Lambda function, right? So if you actually go to search for Lambda, then basically part of the workshop, it had deployed 10 Lambda functions. What's important here is this one, the MP events Lambda function, because this is the Lambda function that actually has the code that will allow us to send data to personalize. As you can see, right, we're filtering the report actions to basic e-commerce event right now: purchase, view detail, add to cart, checkout, add to wish list. And if you check the code again, if you want to deep dive the code, basically it's a separate key and secret, which is will be used as a way for us to send data back to mParticle. So normally we will treat this as a custom feed in endpoint, because basically what's happening now is we're using personalized as a source, and whatever recommendation that personalized generates gets sent back to mParticle. So let's go back to the workshop again. So for what you need to do is, again, inside your go back to your mParticle instance, go to directory. Let's onboard Kinesis as an output, right? So you might be, once you search for Kinesis, Kinesis, yep. You can see that there's two types of Kinesis. One is basically a standard Kinesis, and the other one is the Kinesis firehose. What we need to set up right now is just the standard Kinesis. Click this tile, click setup, then basically there should be a checkbox here. Check that checkbox. Then once you check that checkbox, go to setup, right? Automatically, once you go to setup, it will basically have something like this, where you need to provide an access key and ID. Cool. So go back to lab 6. Then let's generate those access key and ID. So what we'll do is, first, you can see that basically you just need to replace this Kinesis ARN with the ARN that was pre-generated or was pre-created by this workshop. So how do you get that ARN, right? So go to Kinesis, click that Kinesis item. Then you can see there's an ARN here. Copy this one. Then once you copy that one, go to lab 6. Maybe let's put it here. Paste that here. The reason why I'm manually pasting it is normally if you deploy it in your own AWS instance, it will have a predefined name. But right now, given that it's using a different name as what we weren't, which I wasn't expecting, to be safe, just copy the ARN from that Kinesis component and manually paste it here, and maybe just comment out whatever code was existing here, right? Then basically what it will do, print that Kinesis ARN. Then next part is we need to create the custom policy in Amazon IAM such that it will create the proper rights and policy that will allow us to have mParticle access this Kinesis later on. As you can see, what it will do is create this Kinesis mParticle policy. It will also create a user called mParticle retail demo store Kinesis. And from there, it will attach the policy that was created to that user. And in return, once that user has been created, it will generate an access key and a secret, or key ID and a secret. So what we'll do is run this. Hopefully this works. Yes, as you can see, it works. What's important is basically you'll see the outputs that now there's a policy, there's a user called mParticle Kinesis user. Then what we need to do is copy this access key ID. Copy the access key ID, go back to your mParticle instance. Then most likely this will be set to blank. Paste that key ID on the key ID. Then on the lab, then basically the next part is we need the secret key. So you can see there's a secret access key as well here. Copy that one. Yep, without the single quotes, just copy that one. Then go back and paste. That's it. You don't need to enter the account ID because what we only need right now is a key ID and the secret access key. Once that's done, click save. And this should allow us to basically onboard mParticle Kinesis as an output, event output for mParticle. Any questions on that part? Cool. I'll get back on Jack's question later on because I think that's more of a what are the other value props, right? If you use mParticle and AWS later on. Okay, cool. So once that's done, basically the next step is we want to connect our source, which is a web input, to Kinesis. So how do you do that inside mParticle? So what you'll need to do, go back to your mParticle instance, click connections, click connect, click web platform as your input. And basically for output, click Kinesis, right? Then here, it will ask you the stream name, the region, and so forth, right? So what we need to do is go back to our Kinesis. So the name would be this one, this long one. Copy that one and paste it here. Then the region would be US East 1. I think that should be the right region. So if you don't know the region, basically you can see this is also be here in the lab. Just copy that one and put it here, right? Then right now, as part of the instructions of the workshop, make sure that once you create that output, like that one, make sure that you only tick this item, send commerce events. As I said earlier, we just want to send relevant data to personalize. So going back here, by default, it will have everything checked. Maybe untick those items and only basically leave this item checked. Then you can put it active, or you can then click add connection. Yep, as you can see, like once you've done that, we will present a message saying that it could take 5 minutes for the actual configuration to pick up. Hence, once the initialization of the configuration has picked up, this will start streaming data from the website to Kinesis immediately. Okay. I'll pause again for any questions.
Jeff, we have a question about value props for mParticle and Personalize. The question is, I won't read the whole thing, but the view is that mParticle is used for creating unified customer identities and profiles, but not much for the real-time use case we're working on here. So could you go into a little bit of detail of how that works and what the value prop is?
Yeah, so the value prop again is basically, maybe I'll just go back to the first one, the diagram here. This explains our value prop. First things first, right? So we simplify data collection because sometimes you might need to collect data from different channels. So if you're gonna do that directly with personalized, it's a point-to-point integration, right? So we're trying to reduce that development effort wherein you need to manually build one data pipeline versus another data pipeline just to connect different sources from the left-hand side, right? So that's one part. We also support offline data. As I said earlier, if you want to connect in-store data directly to personalized, we can do that. Basically, as long as you pipe that data into mParticle, we'll forward that to personalized. Second thing, value prop is data quality. As Igor mentioned, your recommendation or your AI or ML platform's strength is based on the quality of data it holds within its repository. So without proper data quality enforcement, your recommendation data could not be relevant or could be poor based on the quality that you have, right? So with mParticle, our value prop there will be, we're able to make sure that whatever data we're streaming is qualitative data, and making sure that it will enrich the actual personalization experience later on. And there's one of the key strengths of mParticle as well, where we're able to provide data management and data quality capabilities. Second, again, activation, you see, like, again, if it's real time, it's real time. If you don't want it real time, again, we have a way to send that data still to personalize by batch if you want it. And another value prop would be the data governance side of things, right? So imagine, right, if you're building point-to-point integration, sometimes there are some data points that shouldn't be shared to personalize, because sometimes that could increase your bill to personalize, and it also pollutes your data in personalized, right? So again, that's one part where we can apply data governance as well. So, but again, there's a mixture of the value here is basically us being able to streamline that data in a simplified fashion, apply data quality in real time, such that we make sure data is always enforced to the highest standard. We apply data governance controls such that we control what data should be sent, should not be sent. And lastly, once that data has been provided or forwarded to personalized, right, and you decide to send that data back to us, what will happen is that we're able to apply that flywheel effect wherein we can orchestrate that recommendation data not only inside mParticle but also to other systems. It could be your customer engagement platform, could be your A/B testing platform, it could be your website where automatically it will just adopt or provide a custom tailored experience to your customer, right? And that's through our profile API. I hope that answers our value prop. Cool. Thank you.
Beth, do you want to spend like a minute talking about the profile API and some of the use cases? Because I don't know, later I know you're going to be talking about how those recommendations actually get attached to the profile.
Yeah, so the profile API, as I said, this one, right? So this is basically an API that we expose in a secure way, when you can tap that API to understand the user you're trying to search within this customer data platform or infrastructure, right? So if you want to learn more of our profile API, basically what you can do is go to docs.mparticle.com. Again, I'll just go here. You can go to developers. Again, if you want to try the profile API, you can see there's a profile API in the developers. There's also a guide, I believe, in, I think that's the part. Here, basically, this is an API, right? It's a RESTful API wherein it allows you to get information from any user that we already manage. And this will contain information. Once you're able to tap that API, right? So using this, again, by capturing the credentials and calling the proper API endpoint, automatically what it will do is basically allow you to understand the user you're trying to search within our system. It will contain information of which device the user has used over a period of time. It will contain user identities, whether if it's a known user, it will contain customer ID, it will contain email. user attributes, as you can see, right? In user attributes, this will contain standard user attributes we have collected over time. This will also contain calculated attributes, which we have dynamically calculated over time. And also the recommendation information that came from Amazon Personalized, right? So as you can see here, right? And lastly, it will also contain audience memberships. If you create audiences within our system, that will be surfaced as part of the Profile API's payload. What we see with most customers, how they use this Profile API is either by directly tapping this API before the page loads, their website loads or their mobile app loads, such that it can do that custom tailored experience, or the ability to basically create personalized experience. Another use case that we see, or way of how customers use this Profile API, is if you're using like a A/B testing platform like Optimizely or Adobe Target, you can actually feed this information to them, and they can use that as well to drive better personalization, right? So, but most of the time, what we see is that we integrate directly with your mobile, with your direct channels, such that they can provide that personalized experience. So that's how you would normally use the Profile API. And another use case, which I mentioned earlier, was if you decide to integrate your kiosk or your POS system directly with our Profile API, this could drive that recommendation approach within that kiosk or that cashier system when someone's like basically checking out or paying out for a food item they bought. Your cashier register or your POS can recommend, hey sir, or hey ma'am, do you want a sundae cone on top of it? Because apparently this could be this sundae cone or this flavor or this fries goes well with your current items that you have purchased. Cool. So that's the Profile API. Then maybe let's go back to the lab. So given that we're already done configuring AWS Kinesis as an output, the last part is basically setting the finalizing the configuration with your Lambda environment, right? So what we'll do is basically go back to, again, your mParticle instance. Go to basically setup, then inputs. Here, what we're trying to aim or do is basically set up AWS Personalized as a feed. So what we'll do is click feeds. Most likely you will not have something here if it's a fresh new instance that was given to you. So what you can do is click this button, add feed input, search for custom feed. Yeah, custom feed. I think it's already added here, but it should be something like this. So let me just try to see if I can. Okay, it's not here. Maybe just go to directory. Go for custom feed like this one. See, same thing, click setup. Then once you tick this setup, it will take you to that section. Then what you'll need to do is basically set a new feed, right? So what you'll do is, maybe I'll just create a new one, click the plus icon. I'll just say this is the AWS Personalized recommendation. After you're typing a name, click save. It will generate a key and secret. Same thing, copy the key. Go to your lab. What we're gonna do is basically change this. Sorry, replace this with the key that we copied. Copy the secret. Yep. After replacing that one, I'll just what you can see as well is after copying the key and secret, what we're trying to do as part of this Python script is also trying to get the event tracker ID, because basically the Lambda code requires the personalized event tracker ID as part of its parameters, such that we can send data to Amazon Personalized, right? So as you can see, we're getting the event tracker ID. We're also getting the recommend for you product recommendation ARN. And basically, once you have copied the key and secret, that's what you only need to do, right? And what you click, once that's done, click run. Automatically, yep, if you scroll up, that should have set the information. inside your Lambda. So what you need to do is now make sure that the Lambda code gets rebuilt. So what you can do is go back to your Lambda function. As you can see, this is the one, which is the mParticle one, MP events Lambda. Part of the lab, it says that if the kinesis trigger is not yet included as part of the configuration, make sure you add it. So if it's not added, how do you add it? So basically what you need to do is just click this button called Add Trigger. Then basically in the drop-down, search for kinesis. Yep. Then here, select the kinesis stream, which is the MP event stream. For consumer, leave it to no consumer, batch size 100, leave it like as default. Then basically click add. Again, if you go back to the docs, again, as you can see, everything's like just plain standard. Then click add. So what we're doing right now is basically connecting the kinesis stream directly to the Lambda function. So once you click add, you can see that should just show up here as an item, and it means that now kinesis, whatever data kinesis receives will be sent to the Lambda function. And if you scroll down, you should be able to see, let's say, if it's already added, if you already saw that information, make sure that this is set to enabled, because sometimes if it's already added, it will be in a disabled state. Yeah. So what you need to do is basically tick the checkbox and click enable if it's in a disabled state, such that you can guarantee that data is streaming inside the Lambda function. Again, this is the code. Again, just to basically do a quick run through of the code, what it does is first sets the required parameters such that it can tap to personalize. So it's trying to get the services product API endpoint, getting the API key and secret that we have recently set, the tracker ID, and the recommend ARN. Once we're able to capture that, make sure we initialize all the required variables to set those information such that we're able to use the Lambda function properly. Once that's done, when we're sending data from kinesis to the Lambda function, normally it will be in a base64 format. So what we're trying to do is decrypt that base64 format to a readable format. Hence, we're converting it to a payload, a string payload. Sorry, cancel. I think I double clicked that one. Yep, cool. Let me just yep. Stop. I think I'll just refresh this. I think I double click it because when you double click it, it goes to that editor mode. Sorry about that one. Cool. Let's go back here. Scroll down. Yep. Yeah. Yep. Here. Cool. So once you're able to initialize all the variables, what we're doing again, I said, is reading the payload from kinesis in a base, reverse decoding it from base64 to a string readable format. Given it's a JSON format, we're parsing it such that it can be in JSON format. Then once it's done, is basically we're just capturing the MPID that we have captured from the web, such that we're able to know if it's anonymous or known. If it's anonymous, we'll attach the anonymous ID to the MPID, because most likely if it's anonymous, we will not have any user identifiers available. But if it's a known user, what we want to do is basically use the Amazon personalized ID as an identifier such that it becomes it, and we will set that as the user identifier that we will pass to Amazon personalized later on, such that any events that are tracked for a specific user will be persisted to that same user later on in personalized, such that if that user comes back, we will be able to keep track of all the historical transactions or e-commerce transaction that he or she might have done. As you can see, once we're able to set the customer ID or the user identifier, we're also basically setting the tracking ID that was set earlier in the labs. And lastly, we're just adding the events inside the event list. Here, as you can see, we're just capturing e-commerce events. Then once we're able to create that capture those e-commerce events, we're just pushing that inside the event list. And once that's done, we're sending that event list to Amazon personalized. Once we're able to send that,
maybe what we want to do in return is get recommendation from personalized, right? So here, this is the actual code wherein it's basically calling the personalized API using the personalized SDK ingested in the Lambda function, such that we can get that product recommendations. What we saw as well when I was building this with Igor, this integration, personalized only tracks the product IDs. And to make the product IDs to be readable or easy displayable in a readable format, what we did was basically using the product IDs, we actually tried to reverse look of the product names by tapping onto the product service API endpoint that this retail store provides. So that's why you can see in this part, we're passing the product ID coming from Amazon Personalized, reverse looking it up using the product service URL such that we can get the actual product name. And what will happen is that we're basically, rather than sending the product IDs, we're sending the product names. And once that's done, we're just sending it back to mParticle using the mParticle SDK. So how do we now validate if that's working? So what we can do is close this one, go to data master, click live stream. Let's change this to, once you're inside live stream, see the message direction, change it to both in and out. Then let's go back to the store. Hopefully our integration with Kinesis is working. So I'll click maybe this magnificent ceramic bowl, and automatically once we're able to capture the event, you can see there's an arrow pointing out, means Amazon Kinesis. And imagine instantaneously we're able to get the recommendation from personalized. In that simple configuration, you can see that automatically we're able to, once we capture an e-commerce event, we forward that to Kinesis. Kinesis forwards that to the Lambda function, which I mentioned earlier. And in return, that Lambda function calls the mParticle SDK to return the recommendation back. So how would that look like inside mParticle live stream, right? So if you can see, the product recs has the product IDs. And as I said earlier, rather than just showing the product IDs in the profile, what we do is try to reverse look it up using the product service URL and such that we're able to capture the information. As you can see, the recommendations are still like coming from a cold start. That's why, because it's anonymous, that's why it doesn't have much usable recommendation, right? So what we can do to make this recommendation to be more relevant is we can actually try to click more items that are relevant to that category. Like, as you can see, this category is more on the housewares. So maybe I'll click that bowl, that pot. Maybe I like that kettle. Maybe I'll add it to a cart. Then maybe I'll do shopping. Maybe I want a coffee as well, or a coffee maker because I'm a coffee guy. Add to cart. Then maybe, let's say I feel like I'm done, I can do a checkout. So as you can see, I can check out as a guest as well. Place order. And automatically, once that's done, what's it doing in the background is basically collecting all those events for this anonymous user, building his or her profile such that later on the recommendation could be relevant, right? So if you go back to live stream, you can see there's a lot of recommendations coming in. And if we check this user's profile within mParticle, you can see that this is still classified as anonymous user because this hasn't logged in or registered for an account. That's why there's no identifiers available here. You can see there's only one device, which is the web device. And if we want to check the attributes, as you can see, right, from electric guitars, it has gradually migrated or evolved to better recommendations to actual relevant products that are in the same category as that one. Any questions? Questions, feedback? Like, as you can see, right, this was done in a matter of minutes rather than hours. So that's one of our value props. Cool. So that's basically now showcasing our integration with Kinesis and basically being able to retrieve in real time Amazon's personalized recommendation. And you can see that's what listed in this guide. And once that's done, basically you can run this script if you want to detach it as part again, and that will allow you to remove any configurations that you might have built within your workshop instance. So that's basically us simplifying the integration between Amazon Personalized and mParticle. Any questions? Feedback? So that's lab 6, right? So there's another extra lab that you can do as well if you want to extend this your mParticle to other systems, right? So basically, if you go back to your Jupyter notebook, you'll see under workshop, just go to the topmost workshop folder. You can see there's a folder called customer data platforms. If you click this one, you can see that there's an mParticle step. So here, this is basically now talking about what can you do once you have ingested data, collected data inside mParticle, stream that data to AWS components like Kinesis and Personalize, and how do you want to activate that data by either targeting real-time personalization and campaigns, right? So what you can see here in this guide, basically we're using Braze as a target system for customer engagement. But again, if you're using like a MoEngage, a Klaviyo, or an Airship or an Iterable, again, feel free to do that, use that as well, because we support that kind of integration. But rather than showcasing that step by step in the workshop, maybe I'll just go through this guide right now. So in this part, what you're trying to do now is extend the integration to customer engagement platforms like Braze. So for Braze, we actually have a pre-built connector, right? You can onboard it as well, right? Just going to the mParticle integration network by clicking directory, searching for Braze. Here, what we're going to do is basically onboard Braze as an event output, such that we can stream real-time events that we capture from our end and to Braze. So here, you just set up your Braze instance. Most likely, you generate an API key in Braze and basically select the cluster and identifier types that you want to use as part of our integration with Braze. Once that's done, again, this is just walking through how do you get the API keys from Braze. Same thing, once you onboarded Braze, the next step is you want to connect the web platform as a source and Braze as an output, right? Then once you connect Braze as an output, this, again, you'll get prompted again for additional information like the app group REST API key from their end. So you can capture that as well from their dashboard. But as you can see, we'll leave all the pre-default settings as checked, because basically we want to forward as many data as we can to your customer engagement platform such that you can trigger better personalized real-time transaction campaigns, email campaigns, or push campaigns, right? So what will happen is that once you're able to configure events captured from mParticle to Braze, that will just stream data from our end to Braze. Same what we did with Kinesis. Another option is you can actually create audiences and forward them to Braze. So this will be just another extra configuration on your Braze integration with us, wherein basically rather than sending events, we're gonna send audiences. Again, these are the steps that you require to follow. Feel free to do them later on. Once you're done with that one, what we have completed is basically any events and information that we capture will be forwarded to Braze. Any audience you decide to create inside mParticle will also be forwarded to Braze. A good example of an audience could be like this one. Let's create an audience called High LTV Millennial Shopper. So what it's trying to do is basically group all the millennial shoppers who have a high LTV or customer LTV. And what we're doing here is basically using the web as a source for the event categories. Once you have created that audience, the first thing you will see or you get presented to is our audience builder. So mParticle provides a what you see, what you get audience builder, which allows you to basically create audience criteria in a simple fashion, wherein it's a drag and drop approach, and basically you just have to specify what is the attribute or the event you're trying to use and the filter criteria that you want to apply. So to create the high LTV millennial shopper audience criteria, what we're doing is basically setting age as an attribute, as a filter attribute. And basically what we want to say that anyone who has an age between of 30 to 55 is a millennial, right? Then we can also append existing audiences that you might have created in the past as a filter criteria, right? So a good example would be this one. I already have an existing audience wherein basically called high LTV customers. So this audience, high LTV customers criteria is basically saying that get me all customers who have an LTV value of greater, let's say 2,000. So that's basically how that audience was created. So rather than recreating that same criteria in this audience, what we're doing is basically daisy chaining that existing audience membership inside this audience criteria. Once that's done, you can click apply, done, then save, then activate that audience. Once you activate that audience, you get presented with a screen if you want to apply A/B testing. So we have a lightweight A/B testing capability where you can actually triage how you want to split your audiences, right? So if you connect more than one downstream audience endpoint, we can actually say 50% goes to maybe to Braze, 50% goes to Facebook, such that you can use that as a measurement to decide which platform has the best outcome from an audience activation standpoint. But once you've basically skipped that part, it will take you to the connect output. And this is the part where you basically select which output you want to connect this audience. Here, we're just using Braze as an output. And once that's done, once you connect that audience, we will start sending that audience data and the membership data directly to the downstream connector that we have integrated with. Any questions on the audience side of things? So this, again, extra like that you can do later on if you want to extend the end-to-end integration with mParticle. Then lastly, there's a calculated attribute function, which Shafiq mentioned, which allows us to automatically calculate information based on previous data that we collect over time, right? So this is like, rather than you asking your developers to basically create a code just to compute, let's say, the lifetime value, rather than having those changes be done on the website and the business logic layer side, you can actually outsource that to us using our capability called calculated attributes. So what it allows you to do is allows any non-technical user to come into our system, create a dynamic attribute that gets calculated over time. And we support multiple functions. Like it could be aggregation, could be compute a unique list based on a certain event type, or it could be as simple as get me the first occurrence or last occurrence of a certain value that has transpired over a certain event. So as you can see, this again, an optional step. If you want to basically represent calculated attributes inside our system, you can use this function wherein you can basically create a calculated attribute called CA_LTV, and the description is customer lifetime value. Then click aggregation as the functional category. Then from here, you create, again, using the same approach what we provide in our audience builder, you can actually create the same filter criteria wherein you can say, get me, let's use sum as the function, and we want to sum all purchase events and the total amount value such that we can compute that lifetime value in real time. And once we're able to create that filter or that calculated attribute filter, that will now start basically computing in real time, dynamically computing in real time the value of the customer of the lifetime value for all customer profiles maintained in our system. And once you try to view that user profile in our user activity view, what you'll see that information will be shown as what I shown earlier, wherein those information will be stored here. So this is, again, one way of how you can extend that integration directly to Braze. So if you're able to do that, this is how the finished product could look like. So now I'm just using my own instance of my retail demo store. As you can see, it's called retaildemostore.stridesolution.com. Maybe I'll just share it to everyone in this side. Yeah. Yep. So if you go to that site, this is my version of the retail demo store. Basically, this is like the advanced version of the workshop, wherein how it could end up look like if you integrate all the different components within mParticle. First things first, we can actually integrate media information, because I know Chak had a question what if we want to track outside from e-commerce events, right? So what we can do is basically under shop, basically there's a live stream. And if you go to live stream, you can see that there's a video playing in the background. And what we're doing is in real time, we're sending those video events to mParticle, right? So how would that look like in live stream? So if I go to my mParticle instance, which is app.mparticle.com. So I'll now use my own instance as well. Yep. So I'm just logging in because I might have been logged out. But again, I'll just change it to my own instance. So it will be my demo org. It will be under retail. There will be a workspace called AWS Personalize. And as you can see, if I go to Data Master, live stream, you can see that there are media play events streaming in real time, right? So this media play events could be another event category that we'll be capturing, and you can use that as a way to do a media recommendation later on if you're in the media industry. You can see as well that there's like check and access now showing in my live stream compared to the workshop one, is because in this version of my demo store, I actually updated it to support our data plans such that I'm able to basically say which data points are valid, like see valid, which data points are not valid. So right now, given that I haven't configured the play event as a valid data point, that's why it's showing us unplanned. So this is how we're able, again, to validate events in real time if they're proper events or valid events versus invalid events. If I want to basically create a calculated attribute, as I said earlier, you just go to calculated attributes, and as you can see, this is the customer LTV, right? And if you click that one, that will show up as the how this calculated attribute was created. Then we'll go back to live stream. If I decide to basically view that profile, I can just click this user activity view. Yep. I think let me just go back. Let's go to that thing. Let's search for this user, which is Dana. So what we can do is maybe I'll just log out and log back in just to showcase that one. Or we can click the profile. Yep. I think this is not Donna's profile, so maybe I'll just clear my session just to make sure everything's working as proper. Yep. Sign in. I think it's np test. Maybe I'll just create a new account just to make it fresh. So let's go with username will be let's say mp test works wp1. I'll put a password. Create account. So here I should get a confirmation code sent to my email. Yep, so the confirmation code is 916877. Confirm. Then once activated, I can just log in with that account. So this is now showcasing how we're able to support anonymous users being transitioned to a known user, right? So here, as you can see, I can auto-select a shopper. So right now, the name of the shopper is Christopher Beck. I can click confirm shopper, and automatically his profile will show up. If we go to live stream, automatically you can see if I go to user activity view, we have transitioned that guest user to a known user. And the biggest difference is that the customer ID and email has been populated with the right user identifiers. And inside the metadata, on the user attribute metadata, you can see, right, there's a lot of information we're capturing. And by default, this user hasn't done any purchase yet. Hence, customer LTV is still blank. If I decide to buy maybe a television, add to cart, view cart, maybe I'll do a checkout, place your order. So after doing that, basically that will stream real-time data to us, wherein the customer has added an item to a cart, did a purchase. And if we decide to refresh this profile, automatically, as you can see, we're able to calculate immediately that customer LTV with that single purchase. And aside from that one, we're also able to keep track that the last item that he purchased was a television, right? And the frequent product recently he added to the cart is electronics. Part of the process, given this user's LTV is below 2,000, he's now added to the low LTV audience. And what you can do is basically, if you want to expose that information to our profile API, as part of this advanced integration, I actually extended this website, the retail demo store, to call the profile API. So if I click this profile, as you can see, this will immediately call the profile API in real time. And this will basically return whatever information we captured from our end and expose it to this channel such that you can apply personalization techniques or strategy to your channel. Any questions? Questions, feedback?
Well, if you have any questions after the workshop, you can always feel free to reach out to us as you play around with the workshop itself.
Ooh. So I think that I'll wrap a workshop off what basically what we have presented to you right now is basically setting up your AWS environment to train personalize. Once you have trained personalize, the other section that we have showcased is the mParticle integration side of things, right? Wherein we're able to basically ingest data from your web channel, collect that data, stream that data to Amazon Personalize using AWS Kinesis and Lambda. And in return, we're able to get the recommendation back to mParticle such that you can use that to drive personalization strategies and techniques. And the great thing with once that personalization data comes back to us, we can actually forward that data to downstream partners like your customer engagement platform such that you can apply personalized email campaigns later on. Or it could be a personalized push as well later on. I know there's a lot of information, tons of information thrown to you in this 4 hours, but again, feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions. But again, we're happy to address any questions that you might have in the last 10 minutes of this workshop.
Or we'll let you guys go after such a long day. We're happy to do that as well.
Definitely appreciate you guys sticking through this. I know there was quite a bit of work to get to this point.
Yeah, so from Santosh, yes, you can actually try it later. So let's say later on, this app engine gets retired because or expires. What you can do is, again, if you own an AWS instance, again, from your end, what you can do is go to github.com/AWS-samples/retail demo store. Then basically there's the actual repo that contains all the material that we have presented to you guys. And the great thing with this GitHub page is that if you scroll down, there's a one-click deployment that basically it will take you to CloudFormation and it will just automatically deploy everything in your AWS environment. So if you want to include mParticle as part of the deployment process, I believe if you click Launch Stack, just a reminder for everyone. Hopefully this allows me, but I won't continue. Okay, it doesn't allow me. Okay, cool. Maybe, but the most important one is that once you deploy the CloudFormation stack, there's a section called Deploy mParticle Resources. It's by default set to no. Make sure you change that from no to yes. Then,
yeah, and actually make sure if you are going to do what Jeff is just describing, that you don't do it in the event engine template, because this will happen.
Yeah,
this is designed to run in just a regular AWS account.
Yes, correct. So if I copy this one and maybe paste it here, as you can see, my push notification just came through as well, given I bought TV So basically, I am set a delay in Braze saying that after 10 minutes, send a push notification, right? So this is one way you can actually drive personalized campaigns. Like rather the first push was basically rewarding the customer for a recent purchase by providing a promo code. And the second push was basically saying that, hey, I saw you bought a TV. And most people who bought a TV bought the headphones via personalized. So that's one way on how you can extend personalization on a engagement manner. Hey, Shafiq and Igor, can you see my push? Because sometimes people don't see it. I'm not sure if that's...
I didn't, it might have gone by before I noticed it. My
Yeah.
screen
Okay.
might have refreshed
Okay,
slowly.
cool. Yeah, and anyway, maybe I'll just screenshot it for a while. So this is how it would look like. Yeah, see, that's how it should look like. So I know push normally doesn't show up well in Zooms. Yeah, so that's how you can drive personalized push campaigns based on event we're streaming in real time and applying personalization content on it as well. But going back to the GitHub repo, right? So if I scroll down and let's say I want to deploy this in Sydney, because I'm based in Sydney, I can click Launch Stack. Given I'm already logged in my own AWS environment. Yep, this CloudFormation template is attempting. Let me just try it again in different stack. Maybe I've done this before.
Yeah, so that has a very specific S3 bucket that it has to load all the resources from, because the code and the data files and images and catalog items are all stored in a public S3 bucket. If you're doing this in the event engine, that's, oh wait, that's not the engine.
Yeah, that's not the event engine. I think
I'm not really sure what's going on there, but
yeah.
you might have another template already.
Yeah, it was working. Yeah, I might have a template already in place. That's the reason why, because yeah, but basically the expectation is that it should show something like this, because I have something in US East 1 already. I have something in, let's go with CloudFormation. I'll just show how it would look like, because I can present it how it would look like. So in CloudFormation, right, as you can see, right, there's the retail demo store event. Yep, this one. So what will happen, right? If you actually select I think the template should show something like this. Make sure that inside the dropdown, there should be like an item called include mParticle dependencies. By default, it's set to no, like look at segments, because that's our competitor. But you would need just to change that from no to yes. Then once you have done that, I think what I saw as well is, for some reason, just put your account ID, your Amazon account ID, by going to here, clicking this, copy this link, copy and paste it as the mParticle org ID. I think right now what I did was, in my first test, when I clicked yes on the deploy mParticle dependencies, but I didn't provide any value here, it failed. Apparently, I think the template right now requires some value here, but we're just going to fix it later on as part of my finding yesterday. But that's just my advice if you're going to deploy it manually on your end. I think that's all from my end.
Well, that's a wrap, everyone. Thank you for sticking around with us for such a long time, and I hope that you found the workshop very informative. I want to personally thank Igor again from Amazon for joining us. We learned quite a bit today, and so really thank you for participating, also helping put together the workshop itself. And Jeff is our mParticle superhero on the solutions team, so I'm very excited that he was able to join us and did the lion's share of setting up the integration between us and Personalize. Thank you again, everyone, for joining us. We plan to do many more of these workshops going forward, so stay tuned for future invites. And if you have any ideas or any thoughts of what you'd like to see from a workshop perspective, please feel free to reach out to me. I think I sent an email to everyone, so happy to get your thoughts and ideas as well. Thank you. And
Thanks,
with
everyone,
that,
for
we'll
participating.
call it a wrap.
Thanks, guys.
All right.
Cool.
Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Bye now.